because these are our areas: leadership, teaching, and learning. And these are the focus of how we develop our school improvement goals for our schools, okay? We want you to be a part of that, to give us input so that we can strive for our kids to have the greatest achievement that they can have and be college and career ready when they leave Griffin High School. The first area, when we started looking at our comprehensive needs, when you look at the comprehensive needs assessment, you look at all types of school data. You look at attendance, you look at discipline, you look at MTSS, what their needs are for as academics. You look at all of those things. Mr. Smith, once I go through this, Mr. Smith will share with you, he'll go through the strengths and the weaknesses of our school. And when he goes through that, you can ask him questions about the strengths and weaknesses of our school. And how we came up with those strengths and weaknesses, we looked at all our data. But let's go through this, how we kind of developed our goals for the school. The first area that we looked at is our organization and operation efficiency. There were 3 areas: aligning resources to students and staff needs, provide effective and efficient operations, present safe and supported learning environments. From looking at the data, talking to the staff, not only teachers, but we talked to custodians, we have talked to students within our building. We wanted to know, from looking at the data and having conversations with people in our building, and also with the community, we've had other parents to come into the building. We wanted to ask, what was the most need for Griffin High School? From looking at that data, we know for the organizational piece here, present safe and supported learning environment. That was the #1 thing. From looking at the data, that's the #1 thing kids said. They wanted to feel safe when they came to school. Okay, and so we know that's one of the goals. Not only the students, but also the parents and the community want the school to be safe and a supporting learning environment for all students. Okay? That was our first area that we focused on. The second area for high-performing staff, areas that we looked at: attract quality candidates, support effective professional learning growth, and cultivate a committed workforce. Now, with this area, we had a conversation going back and forth with that, where our staff wanted to cultivate a committed workforce. But when you start looking at our data, the #1 thing for Griffin High School, a weakness for the Griffin High School, has been the achievement. When you look on the DOE website, and you know all schools get rated, and part of that rating is our mastery content. Mastery content are the EOC courses that are given to all students, and that's how we're measured for as academics. Now, for inner course, we used to have 8 courses, and now we are down to 4 courses that are required for students to take throughout the 4 years that they are here. Algebra 1, biology, American Lit, and US history are the only 4 that they are required to take at this point in time. And so when we started looking at the data, we know that is the weakest area for Griffin High School. When you look at the data for mathematics, for students who are scoring between proficient and distinguished, and I'll be honest, looking at the data, you may have 5% of our students that are proficient or distinguished. So we knew that the goal that we needed to focus on would be support effective professional learning and growth. When you do that, when you target the teachers, meaning having professional development that supports our teachers, in turn supporting our teachers, that in turn supports the students within our building. So how are we going to do that? Through PLCs, professional development, making sure that teachers have the support and the resources that they need in order to move those scores. Okay, so that was the second area that we targeted. On the third area for family and community engagement, there were 3 areas that we discussed and looked at: leveraging businesses and community partnerships, provide proactive communication of information, and address the diverse needs of students. In this area, a lot of people wanted us to talk about leveraging business and community partnership. Upon talking about that, our principal said that's something that he needs to do. As a new principal, he needs to come in and do the leveraging of that with the community and the business partners that we have out in the community that will support Griffin High School. And there are a lot of people that will support us, but we're going to have to reach out to them. And that's his job. He wanted to do that. And so the second area would be address the diverse needs of students. That goes hand in hand with that professional development. We know that because our scores are down here and we want to make sure that they increase, we have to focus on addressing the diverse needs of students. We have different types of students here, and the students have different needs. And so how are we going to provide that? So that was one of the goals. That was the goal that we will focus on for next year. The last one is student achievement. There were 3 areas. Implement a coherent and viable curriculum, provide engaging and high quality instruction, and prepare college and career ready. And so for that one, we decided on
math and numeracy. Math and numeracy for the first one.
Providing the engaging and high quality instruction. I know, because they kept going back and forth because this goes hand in hand. But we decided to provide engaging and high quality instruction. If the instruction has the rigor and the differentiation in it for our students, then that would support everything else with the other goals that we had. And the district gave us 2 goals that we know that around the entire district we need to focus on. That would be literacy and numeracy. Literacy. A lot of times when the kids come into the 9th grade, they're not at the reading level, literacy, that reading comprehension at the level that they need to be. So literacy is very important. If you can get them at the literacy level, meaning the Lexile scores when they're coming in the 9th grade and supporting them to get them to that level, then the thought process is that they will do better on those end of course assessments or any courses that they are taking with literacy. Literacy goes throughout all contents. And then numeracy, because I just told you about mathematics has been the lowest. If you look at our data, you can see throughout the years, mathematics is the lowest. Okay, that's not only at our school, but that's been across the state. And so our district knows that is an area that we need to focus on. And so today, what we're going to do, I shared with you how we came up with those goals from looking at the data and the needs of our school. Mr. Smith will share with you the strengths and weaknesses that we have discussed from looking at that data. We put it in a spreadsheet to make it a lot easier. And I want you to ask questions, and I want to have conversations about our strengths and weaknesses or any input. And at the end, you are going to put your feedback on there because it's very valuable to decide how do we go and what direction should we go in moving forward and putting that into our school improvement plan. Okay, and it's 5 systems. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Good morning, everyone. Mr. Smith, assistant principal here at Griffin High School. Ms. Davis just did a great job of outlining what our goals are on the roadmap to success. That's what we want to get to. So we understand that it's going to take a lot of work to get there. In order to get there in the business model, in the business world, anything, you always need to know what your strengths and weaknesses are in order to put systems in place to try to reach the goal that you want to accomplish. So we took some time and we compiled a list of things that we're doing well, things that we're struggling with, and now we can put a plan of action in place so it matches with our roadmap so that we can try to reach the goals that we're trying to reach. Ms. Davis just mentioned we have 5 system areas that we focus on. The first one is our coherent instructional system. This is catered toward the type of instruction that we want to make sure we're delivering. Our current strengths are common planning among core teachers. All of our core teachers, they share a planning period. This allows them to get together to come up with common assessments, make sure that everybody's doing the same thing, so that kids, or we make sure kids are getting the same level of instruction, no matter what content area it may be. Common assessments, again, making sure they're taking the same test. Pacing guides for curriculum. This is pretty much a map to show how the class is going to go. We're going to be working on this at this particular time of the class and throughout the semester and so forth and so on. PLC collaboration. This is when all the teachers come together. We analyze the data. Some of the data Ms. Davis just mentioned, we analyze that data and we figure out a plan of action and how we're going to use that data to deliver better instruction to get our kids to learn the things that they need to know to do well on those milestones and things of that nature. And then the use of instructional technology as well. Areas where we're weak in as far as coherent instructional system goes, students monitoring their progress. We're just implementing systems. We're starting out to implement systems where the students it gives the students opportunity to take ownership of their progress. So it's not just the teachers or administrations telling them this is where you are. We're putting systems in place so that they can read the data themselves and they have a better understanding of where they are and where they're struggling and where their weak strengths are as well. Creating an academically challenging learning environment. Use of instruction strategy to engage all students to include DI, product, pace, environment, and curriculum. Engaging, that's the word you're going to hear Mr. Chambers say quite a bit. Engaging instruction. Something kids are just getting back in school this year. You've kind of been out of school, out of the building for a year and a half, and you've been behind that computer for a while. And the teachers as well. So we're trying to get away from that and get as much engaged because kids learn more when they're actually involved in the learning process. So engaging instruction, then provide data-driven instruction, making sure that the instruction matches the data that we have as well. That's something, an area that we're trying to get better on. Then providing standard-based feedback on student performance, not just giving a test or an assessment and you give the grade, you give the grade back to the kid, or you give the test back to the kid, and they don't understand why they got a certain grade. So they understand the questions on the assessment and what standards match up with those questions as well. Trends and patterns that we have, ELA areas of weakness are reading, vocabulary, language, and writing. Ms. Davis just talked a little bit about literacy and kids coming in and not being at the adequate reading level. So that's an area that has been consistent that we're trying to make sure we focus on as well. Again, incoming ninth grade students and their low let style scores. Math areas of weakness are equations and functions. Anytime you have a word problem and kids have to take it piece by piece to try to solve it, that is math and numeracy. But when you throw the equation part into it, it becomes literacy as well. So if we can improve our literacy area, then math should follow as well. Science, with our weaknesses are sales and ecology, critical thinking. Kids can think critically and solve problems, and it's where it's not just cut and dry. It's not just A, B, 1 + 1 = 2. You know, it involves some type of critical thinking. In social studies, our areas of weakness are colonization, the Constitution, and post-World War II to present. Between 6 and 10% of the student population needs to recover at least one credit, meaning that we've had quite a few students who have failed classes, and then 6 to 10% of them need to go back and recover that credit so that they can graduate on time. The second system area that we have is effective leadership. And this speaks to our administrative team, our instructional coaches, our department leads, anybody that's involved in the leadership role as far as it goes.
We have a question. What is DI? It's in the weakness.
Instruction strategy to include students.
DI. Differentiated instruction.
Yes, differentiated instruction. That means you're providing systems of support for students. Every student doesn't learn the same. So if a student is struggling, we have a student that's struggling in a particular area, what things are you doing to differentiate the instruction to cater that particular student's needs? That's what DI represents. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so our second system is effective leadership. Our strengths as far as effective leadership goes, there's a system in place to ensure effective implementation of curriculum, assessment, instruction, professional learning practices. Common assessments and curriculum pacing guides are implemented for all core staff support. Ms.
Boswell. Ms. Boswell, you can turn your microphone on and ask your question. Ms. Boswell, you can type your question in the chat, or you can turn your microphone on and ask your question.
I don't have a question right now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, other strengths as far as effective leadership system goes, building leadership capacity through shared decision-making and problem solving. This is something Mr. Chambers is real big on. He's the principal, but he understands that it takes a community of leaders and administrators and school leaders to come up with solutions and plans that are going to be effective. He involves everybody in the problem solving. We don't want to just talk about the problem. We want to make sure we're trying to, we want to be solution based and come up with solutions to all those problems. One way we're doing that is with our Better Seeking team. This is a group of our teachers, our lead teachers, and we meet monthly to come up with, to identify problems that we're having in the school, and then we come up with solutions as well for those particular problems. Weaknesses that we're having in, as far as effective leadership goes, more efforts need to be made to build and sustain relationships. I just got to Griffin in September. I understand what Griffin was like the last 2-3 years. A lot of turnover as far as teachers go, teachers in and out of the building. So it can make it tough to establish relationships within the building. So that's something that we understand it's a weakness, and it's something that we're focusing on to try to make sure we're doing a better job of building relationships, retaining good teachers, and then making sure we're getting more good teachers to come into our building to serve our kids. There's a need for effective communication with staff and students of what's taking place within the building. And this simply means making sure that we're communicating with all our stakeholders, whether they're in the building, whether it's parents, community stakeholders, making sure if something happens in the building, we're getting that information out. We're being as transparent as possible to make sure that everybody's in the loop with what's going on. Shares a common vision and mission that define the school culture and guide continuous improvement process. Mr. Chambers he's fond of our current mission statement, but he's making some plans to tweak it. So once he tweaks the mission statement, it's going to be important that we make sure everybody understands that vision and that mission, so that everybody can be on the same page. And when you speak of shared vision, it's not just the principal's vision; it's the vision of the entire community and all of our stakeholders. Trends that we have, reevaluations of systems that are currently in place, continuing structure support, and establish structure to increase relationship building. Again, evaluating the practices that we're currently using, what's working, what's not working, what can we do to improve those systems as well, okay? Our third system is professional capacity system. Our strengths in that area go back again are our common and collective collaborative planning, professional learning opportunities, giving teachers opportunities to go off campus or attend trainings that will help them hone their craft and become better at supporting the needs of our students. Common assessments and curriculum pacing guides for core content areas. Again, weaknesses, areas that we need to improve on: attracting and retaining staff. I talked about high turnover for various reasons, whether it be pay from the district, whether it be commutes, things of that nature. We want to make sure that we're getting the best teachers here, and the teachers that we do have, we want to make that are doing very well. We want to make sure we're doing things to allow us to keep those teachers as well. There's been a trend for Griffin, for this, not just Griffin High School, but this entire system to be a stepping stone, where teachers kind of get their foot in the door in Griffin Spalding County schools, and once they kind of learn the craft, they go and leave and go to another school system and take those skills somewhere else. We want to make sure we're keeping those teachers in the district and inside in our building. Review and monitor implementation, professional learning. Then our trends for professional capacity system, ongoing professional development opportunities, which will support staff retention. We don't want to be set in our ways. We don't want to rest on our board. We want to always be trying to get better. We're always trying to be better than we are. Even the areas that we're strong in, we don't want to sit on those strengths. We want to find ways to get even better at those strengths as well. Our fourth system is family and community engagement system. This is kind of what we're doing now. We're reaching out to families and reaching out to stakeholders outside of the building, trying to make sure that everybody knows what's going on and we can get input and feedback from you guys so that we can, put practices in place to help us along our roadmap. Strengths that we currently have: providing information to parents, families in order to provide opportunities to partner and engage. That's through our bear briefs. Dr. Elam sends out the information to parents. There's constant communication going on. Establish structures that promote clear and open communication between the school and the stakeholder. Areas that we're weak in, that we need to put some more effort into, is lack of parent engagement. Okay, I know we have a few parents in here. How many do we have online?
We have about 13.
About 13. Obviously, we have a lot more than 13, 20 parents, in this building. So we want to make sure that we get more parent engagement. So how can we find ways to continue to communicate, but entice parents to get more involved in the learning process here at Griffin High School? Lack of correct parent contact information. Information changes. So how are we making sure that parents know when that information changes, that they're aware that I need to go to the school, I need to contact the school and get my information updated. So a lot of parents may not, Dr. Elam or somebody may send information out, but it's not reaching that parent. So now it doesn't reach that parent. The parent isn't aware of certain things that goes on. So now you've got some miscommunication, and it's simply because we don't have the right contact information. So it's not that the school didn't try to give you the information. It's not that you didn't want the information, but we just had miscommunication in the process. Lack of parent engagement, academic focus, and then lack of effective community and business partners. Trends that we're seeing in this area: continued efforts to communicate with family and parents. We're constantly trying to find ways to make sure that the lines of communication are open between families, parents, and all the stakeholders. The parent liaison will continue to hold parent workshops on homework help and assessment strategies. These are things that are working for us, so we're going to continue to do those things, and while we're trying to improve them as well. Supportive learning environment and system. Our strengths: recognizing and celebrating achievements. We want to celebrate everything. I like to use the phrase, if a kid ties their shoes right way, we want to celebrate it. We want to put it on social media, make announcements, any venue that we can put information on to let people know about the good things that are going on at Griffin. We want to put it out there. A lot of times you only hear the negative. And if all you hear is negative, then you're going to have a negative thought process about that particular school. But we want to outweigh that negative because we feel like there's a lot more positive things going on here than there are negative. So we want to shine a light on those positive things. Structure of instructional focus is evident. Areas that we're weak in right now: student engagement. So we're finding ways, how can we get our students engaged, not just in the classroom, but in the overall learning process? How can we find ways to get our students more engaged and excited about being here at Griffin High School? Teacher inconsistency is in enforcement of rules and expectations. And that goes back to communication, making sure that all teachers and everybody's on the same page. We can't have one set of rules for this classroom and another set of rules for this classroom, and everybody's doing their own thing. So making sure that all teachers understand and enforce the rules and expectations that are expected for Griffin High School. The MTSS process is inconsistently applied due to lack of training. This is something that's currently a weakness, but we're getting stronger at it. MTSS, for those that may not be aware, is a multi-tiered support system, where we place students on tiers based on the level of support that they may need, whether it be academics, behavior, or attendance. Okay, and so there's a process of tracking this data that is required for us to do, so we know what students are in need of each of those supports and those services. In order to do that, teachers are required to implement certain data so that we can spit the final data out and we can put supports in place. well, it hadn't been done for a while. We've gotten a lot better at it. Took a little bit to get it, make sure everybody's on board with it. But we think this is going to be, it's a weakness now, but we think going into 2022-23 school year, this will become a strength for us. We've already have practices in place for it. Classroom management issues in some classes, making sure that we empower our teachers to and give them the professional development that they need to teach them classroom management skills. If processes are not fully implemented, and then IF processes, our instructional focus. As far as, that's another way of providing supports for our students. Everybody's not doing it with fidelity right now. So we got to make sure we get everybody on board with that as well. And then student attendance is a big thing, whether it be absences from school, whether it be tardies, that's something that's a weakness for us as well right now. Trends that we're seeing, strengthening classroom management, continue to implement MTSS with fidelity, and then our weekly PLC meetings have made continuous progress. Those are things that we're doing right now that are going to help us turn some of those weaknesses into strengths for us. As far as demographic and our financial, our strengths right now, teacher support. We do have teachers who are going above and beyond to make sure that we're trying to reach the needs of individual students. Because we have a wide variety of our demographic background is expansive. Excuse me. Availability of resources and diversity of staff. Those are all things that we consider strengths here at Griffin High School. Weaknesses of poverty. That's something that as a school, we can't really do it's not very tangible for us, but it's something that we can help improve by providing quality education. In hopes that it will help with the level of poverty here in this community. Culture of apathy among students, percentage of uncertified staff. This is something else that Mr. Chambers is very big on. We have a high, I'm not sure the exact number, but we have a high percentage of our teachers who may not be certified. People who are coming from the business sector and they decide to want to get into education, but they may not be certified to teach a particular area. So we want to make sure we increase the number of certified teachers that we have in this building. I'm not sure the percentage, but I think I remember Ms. Chambers mentioning that we want to have 85-90% of our teachers being certified. Okay. Lack of understanding of the socioeconomic status, making sure that our teachers are aware of where our students come from. Okay, and some of the challenges that they're dealing with at home. Okay, that will make you a little more empathetic to what they're dealing with and have an effect on the way that we teach our students. Trends that we're seeing, professional development on being culturally responsive, and then access to school resources, as well as providing updated instructional resources. Okay, and then we have student achievement, our strengths, areas of strengths. I'm sorry, I forget that. Our strengths as far as student achievement goes, our achievements are celebrated. This is scholarship heavy time right now. So there's a lot of emails, a lot of communication going out about students who are receiving scholarship opportunities. Access to support programs for students. We're doing a pretty good job of providing those supports for our students. Weaknesses or areas of growth that we have. Content mastery, our EOC results. Ms. Davis talked about that and the low scores that we're currently having right now. Yes, as previously I mentioned about the number of teachers who weren't certified, they're working on their certification right now. They have a certain amount of time to obtain the qualifications that have to be that they need to become certified in their particular subject area. What was the other part of that question?
And they have mentors.
Yes, and they have been assigned school mentors as within the building, certified mentors who can assist them throughout that process. Okay? Yes, sir.
This is a good time for a question.
Yes, go ahead.
So I would like to see, maybe this would help. What is the percentage of certified versus non-certified? Because when you're asking someone to get certified, of course they're going to have a higher standard. So I'm looking at the turnover ratio, basically. So what's the longevity? Because you might have a non-certified teacher, but they're all in.
Yeah.
They're here every day. They're really good teachers. So maybe that might keep them from advancing to a different curriculum or something, but maybe they're allowed to stay, because that might help with the turnover ratio.
Yeah,
Because they might say,
yeah.
oh, now I gotta get a certification, so now I gotta either go, or if I get it, now I'm gonna go somewhere else.
Yeah, I got you.
Well, with, what we try to do when we have teachers who coming in that are not certified, as Mr. Smith has said before, we have a lot of support from our district, from top on down, from the district and from our mentors. So we support them in trying to help them get their certifications because we want them to have that certification. Having that certification supports them as supporting the students within the building. And usually you have 3 years, the state gives you 3 years to get that certification. And then sometimes we can extend that, but in special circumstances, we have to write letters that ask the state, can they extend that? And we've done that in the past for some teachers that were phenomenal, but for whatever reason, they have not got that certification
Right.
as of yet.
And I know you guys don't want to lose quality teachers.
Yeah, we
over
don't want to lose
certification.
quality teachers, because to be honest, some of our teachers that have came in that did not come through the pathway of having a educational background, that came in as that professional background or in another area were phenomenal. We just needed to support them to help them pass the gates and take those courses. A lot of times we put them through the teachers program through Griffin Research.
TAP.
They support us quite a bit with the TAP program that they have.
So that was gonna be my question. Is TAP mandatory or is it optional?
TAP is optional. They have different pathways to get that certification. They do not have to go through TAP. They can go back and get their master's degree, and then they communicate with the school and the district. But if they want to do the TAP, that is one avenue.
So if they have their masters, they only have to take what they're teaching in their content, or they have to take the full gates?
If they have their master's, it just depends on, this is how this works. If they have their master's, it depends on the content that they're teaching, what that master's in, and then they have to communicate that with the state as well as the district to align that, to make sure that they have all the credentials they need to be certified. Okay?
But they will have to take the case.
Yes, they will have to take that.
Yeah, I didn't know if they had to take the basic or just content in their content.
You have to take both.
You have to take
You
both,
have to
okay.
take, you're going to have, everybody has to take the basic.
Okay.
And that's just, reading that. And then you take the one for your particular content. And most of our successful teachers who are not certified, most of them, they go through that process. Those aren't really the ones that we end up losing a lot of.
Okay.
So if they're doing a really good job, most times if they're doing a good job in the classroom, then they're eager to get their certification so that they can continue to deliver that type of thing.
Yeah, I just, from our standpoint, I know it's challenging keeping staff,
Yeah.
so I wouldn't want you guys losing.
Yeah.
Anybody who's coming to work every day doing a good job over certification.
And trust me, we don't want to lose them, so when we identify
So you're
those
working with
teachers, we're working with them and we're providing as many supports as possible to try to help them get their certification.
And just to add, those teachers are identified annually. And so again, we know who they are and we can support them every year.
Yeah.
It's not just you just come in, you're supported each year. You still have a mentor. A lot of them are going through the TAP program, so they also have mentors on that side,
Okay.
as well as in the
So they have a
building.
lot of support.
Yes.
Going back to our weaknesses as student achievement is considered, students scored a 3 or above on AP assessments. Something we got to get better at with our AP courses and those scores. Participation in dual enrollment, AP honors classes as well. Trying to get those numbers up. Lack of students taking advantage of career tech courses provided by the district at GRCC. Then our low academic success for students with disabilities. Trends that we're seeing: remediation, acceleration, opportunities toward increasing student academic success on class and state assessments. Okay, so are there any more questions as far as it goes to our strengths and weaknesses here at Griffin High School? Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to dig into remediation. When we're talking about the low test scores, whether it be EOCA, but I'm talking leading to EOCA, I mean EOCs. how are we remediating the students when they're not doing well on common tests? Like, what is the remediation strategies? Are they allowed to retest? Is there like Saturday tutoring or daily tutoring and then they can retest? Like, how are we bringing them up to meet those measurements?
Okay, now, are you asking for end of course, or are you just asking in general for?
I'm asking in general,
Okay.
because I think that in general, that's how you get to the EOC.
Okay, so there are two different ways. The one thing that the district has put in place, and all the schools have this, especially at the high school, are our focus classes. And what we try to do, we try to identify students who may have deficits in particular content areas, and we are assigning them to teachers so that they can have that support throughout the year. Now, for a student who may have failed an EOC or failed the EOC course, because this is the rule for EOCs, the state says you have to take the end of course assessment, but that does not necessarily mean you failed the course, okay?
Right.
So if you have a kid who has an 80, most of the time they're gonna have an 80 or 70, if it's true to form, if the teachers are grading the way they should, it's gonna mirror what they're gonna get on that score. You may have a kid that has a 90 and then gets a 76 or a 60 on the EOC. It counts 20% of their final grade because that's their final exam. They won't fail that course. But how we prepare the students, we're trying to prepare the students for end of course assessments with our focus classes.
That's the IF?
Yes, IF, instructional focus. That is a constantly moving piece of document where we move students constantly according to what their needs are. Example, they may be taking geometry. If they're failing in their geometry class, during that time, we may assign them, or they may go to a geometry teacher that they can work well with, and they're gonna work on those standards that they need support in. Once they grasp that, they may need some other level or content that they're struggling with, they're gonna move to a different teacher. So we're assigning not only for remediation, but for acceleration too. Because we have some students who may be in chorus, they may be in honor chorus, or they may be in art, or some other area that they need to be accelerated in. So we're constantly moving the students around to meet their needs to accommodate that. And so that's how we're doing that with that remediation. We also use what is called a universal screener. We use MAP in 9th and 10th grade. And with MAP, it tells us at that time what the students are thinking when they take that assessment for reading and mathematics, just their thought process at that time. So it tells us what their deficits are. And from that data, then we're able to constantly move those students around. We see that this student is struggling in this particular domain or standard. We're gonna move this student over here so they can work with this teacher. And then they have to keep up with the documentation and know, okay, this kid is ready to move to another content area.
So that kind of answers my other question was when they're coming from the middle school, that transition, you were saying they're struggling in literacy and numbers. So what are we doing once they get here to bring those numbers up? So I guess that would go with the IF as well.
Yes, that would go
And
with
map
that as well.
testing to
Yes,
analyze it.
yes, yes.
Oh, so
Go
that goes
ahead.
right into one of my questions.
Mhm.
First of all, I applaud y'all because I know you guys work hard and it's hard. And a lot of this stuff is coming in, you get what you get from lower levels. Like you said, the lower scores, that's the only thing. It looks like all the problems have been identified. It just takes time and consistency. And you know, with the new staff, new leadership, it's a process. You know, people get that. Piggybacking off of what Mr. Smith said, as far as trying to add, it's hard to add anything to what you got because you already identified all the problems, so it just takes time. Do you guys have like a marketing, when you was in
So,
teaching
yeah.
high school, or a social media?
That's what I was gonna ask. What's your social media outlets
Or
and how
a
are you
school
utilizing?
newspaper outlet
We
type
have-
of deal?
we
You have
have-
something like that?
Yes, we have this, there's social medias, we have a Twitter page, Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
That information is being fed out.
That needs to be on everything though.
Yes.
But that's on our
yes.
school website,
When
and
you send out your messages, like those are excellent. I get so much communication.
So
I
what-
love that.
What we could do,
That-
Dr.
but I also tell you in that, in my communication, to check our social media platforms as
Yeah.
well. I always
Yeah.
plug those.
Okay, I just never
Yes.
noticed.
And
Okay.
then my angle was from a school spirit aspect, trying to get some of that negativity, post positive stuff every time
We
somebody
do.
does. Okay,
all
I
the
haven't
time,
been
yes.
on that, I didn't know
Yeah.
nothing about it, so
Mhm.
you're on the outside looking in.
And we're getting
Right
better
now,
and better,
I'm
and
getting on.
that's something, again, I just got here in September.
Yeah.
And I come from, I have an athletic background, as an athletic director, and I spent a good bit of my time on social media,
Right.
putting positive information,
Right.
putting positive information out.
So just to share on our website, these are our social media platforms, as well as we have a school YouTube channel.
Okay.
Every month we send home our monthly newsletters. And so when we're having meetings like today's meeting, we post this meeting, our meetings on our YouTube channel and also on our website, so that parents who are not able to meet or come to the activities, that they can go back at their leisure and watch it.
And do you go back and analyze that data on who actually?
We can see the
utilized it?
algorithms and the data from that as well.
And one of the things I will say, you have, in the community, some people who are not tech savvy, so, one of the things that we talk about, we need to push it more in the newspaper. Because some people still, I know, some people still do pull and read their newspaper. My husband is one, he reads it from the top to the bottom, I don't do that. But that's one of the ways we need to put it out there as well, because we do parent links, we do the website, Twitter, Facebook. So we do that and send it out.
But that's a perfect example of what we were talking about, one of our weaknesses of making sure everybody's on the same page. The information is being put out and you want the information, but we just weren't together to make sure that you had what you needed to get the information.
Yes.
And we're constantly updating the school website, also updating social media. So some people use one source more so. They may use Facebook because that's what they're using all the time. So they go there. If you're looking at our Facebook page, like I was just showing you for this particular meeting, I go in and I'm always, just kind of plugging it, different activities, like we're having our upcoming Honors Day, we're plugging those activities as well. We're also sending out the parent link calls. We're also plugging in those parent link calls in the emails that go along with it, the same information.
Yeah, I get the emails, I get the text, and I get the phone calls. I did, and you do an excellent job. Like, it's a lot of information. So now that I know you have social media, I'll be on there too.
Okay, thank you.
My last question is there like a rewards program for attendance to help with
Yes.
attendance?
PBIS.
This is some, our PBIS, Positive Behavior Intervention Supports.
Okay.
This is, if you walk around the school, you'll see our kids with their badges. It has a name, it has a barcode on it. And we reward students for any positive behavior.
So in the morning, we stand out in the front, myself and Ms. Higdon, she's our MTSS specialist. And so when the kids are coming in with their badges, and even if they don't have their badge, they have an electronic badge that they can pull up from their app, and we scan it. And so each morning we can, select different things based upon our matrix that we give them points for. They can use those points in our PBIS store. At no cost to them, they're just using points.
In the store, they can get snacks, they can get school paraphernalia,
We'll help with sponsorships to help.
And they have the parking pass that they can use it for. Have so many points, they can buy their parking pass as they're driving to school as well.
Right.
And we started that December, I want to say, and it hit, and we've seen improvement, drastic improvement. So we're currently in the process of restocking that store. It's the end of the school year, but by the time we start next year, we should be fully operational as far as the store goes. But the kids enjoy
Who
it.
runs the store?
It's a collective.
Oh,
It's a collective. Our PBIS department.
I got you.
It's a group of about 20, 30 teachers, and then everybody gets, and we have a leadership council that deals with
So my
PBIS.
question in that was, why don't we have some student involvement in that?
Students as well.
We
Students
do.
help run the store.
Yeah.
Students help run the store, yes. And we meet with a group of students as monthly as well to get feedback from those students on what it is they want. What are some things that the school is doing well? What are some things that the school is struggling with? And we take their input as well. And their input actually went into some of this information as well. So they are heavily involved.
And we're also asking them in the mornings, like when we're having those conversations, just building those relationships, we're asking them about things that they want. I know especially out in the front when we're out there, kids come up to us all the time. They want their points, but they also want to say, hey, why don't you add this into the store? I know that we have our clear book bags, and we talked about adding those too next year for our kids as well. If there are any questions online, please add those questions to the chat, or you can turn your microphones on and ask those questions before we move on to our needs and root causes. If there's anybody who has a question. Okay. All right. We're ready to move to the next section.
Okay.
Just call me if you need.
Okay. So we're going to go over needs and root causes. This is how we develop. You remember we talked about that roadmap and how we came up with the goals from looking at the data. Now, these are our overarching needs. We know these are our needs because of looking at that data. Our first need is the support towards increasing academic rigor and instructional support. Okay, that strengthening PLCs and supporting data analysis. PLCs is our professional learning communities. And so the support towards increasing the academic rigor. We're going to do that through our PLCs and data analysis. That's number one, data analysis, the PLCs, professional learning communities, and data analysis, meaning that when those teachers meet, the way that we have strategized with our master schedule is that all teachers, example, all teachers who teach Algebra 1, they're off at the same time for planning. And so that's that professional learning community. And so on Wednesdays, as a teacher, as a group, they come, they meet in a particular area. We have our instructional coaches, we have our teacher development specialists, we have the administrators, we have other people to support them during that time. Those teachers come and meet. They talk about the students that they have. They look at that data that they have. They bring samples of student work, and they're talking about the work. How did my students do versus your students? What did you do, or how did you teach this? Why was your students more successful than my students? Okay, and so they talk and they strategize and come up with strategies to improve the lecture that goes on in the classroom, or to improve the engagement and activities that are going on in the classroom to engage those students, to make them want to know and learn, be able to do it. Okay, so that's the overarching need. And so some of the things that we have: training on relationship building, on cultural awareness to address issues related to poverty, to ensure that all students have opportunities to be successful in a positive learning environment. Before you can teach a kid, you have to know a kid. You have to know about them, where they come from, what are their triggers, what makes them happy. They have to get to know you too, but you have to know your students. And so relationship building. A lot of times students come in, and I talk to students a lot of times, it's like, well, I really don't know anything about my teacher. Why? Because they have not let that shield down just a little bit. I'm not saying be a friend, but let them know that you're human, you're somebody's mom, somebody's dad, uncle, or aunt. Just let them know that you have a personality and that you are approachable, okay? So they can feel comfortable in knowing that, okay, you're my teacher, but you have family just like I do. And so just building that relationship with your students and understanding where they're coming from, because everybody's not on the same level, okay, that understanding. Provide effective, timely, and relevant professional learning to all staff that will support increasing academic professional practice in school culture. Meaning, in order for our staff to have that positive culture, we have to provide that in a timely manner, making sure that everybody is on the same page and knowing what's going on and what's happening within your school. And that's how you're going to promote that positive school culture. That's how it's going to move our climate rating. Right now we have a 3. We want to move it up to a 4. Okay? We want to do that, but that takes time. Students and teachers need a safe and secure environment that focus on academic, social, and emotional needs of students and staff to learn and teach respectively. if the kids don't feel safe coming to school, they can't focus in the classroom. So we know that's one of the areas, because when we look at our discipline, we know that's one of the areas that we need to focus on. Because you hear a lot of times, I really don't want to go to that class, I don't want to come to school. What can we do to improve
So
that?
what's happening that they're not feeling safe? Is it just the youthfulness, the I don't like you type thing situations?
Sometimes it can be where, if you look at the data, it's no secret. We know we had a high increase of fights at one point. And so some kids, that type of action that may take place makes them uneasy. Okay, so if you're seeing fight on this hall, you go on this hall, you see another fight, you have 2 or 3 fights in one day. Sometimes it'll make you nervous. Because you don't know, am I next? You don't know how they think, okay? But we want it to be safe for all students. And so that sometimes will make them feel uneasy to come into school because of fights that may break out at the school.
So how are you controlling it?
One of the things that we have our counselors going into the classrooms and they do sessions with students that talk about, we have the PBIS. PBIS helps a lot with the matrix, the expectations that we have on the wall. When we talk about those expectations from all students, as well as having counselors to go in and talk to the classrooms about expectations. And then when we have students who may have issues because they're in a tier, and this is our multi-tier support system. Right. They may be in a tier for their behavior. We have counselors conferencing with them. They have sessions. And on top of that, we have a person that is coming in that works with those small groups. Example, we've had, when we look at our data, especially our discipline data, it's probably a 10% of your school is the same students over and over and again. So we have identified those students. So those students, after a second referral, we have identified them. We have put them in sessions with
Mr. Sombre, who works with the Works program.
Yeah, we have what is called the Works program that comes in, and we're trying to change their mindset. We're trying to figure out, it's one thing to give them discipline, but it's another thing to figure out what is causing you to continue to do this? Because I can give you discipline, you're gonna come back and do the same thing. So we're trying to change what's going on with you. So we have someone that comes in and works with these groups. Also, the counselors are working with these same students. If you look at our data, it's the same kids, attendance, fighting, their behavior in the classroom. It's the same kids, and it's over and over again. So we try to figure out what can we do to change that dynamic for those kids. And so we have the Works program that is in place. We have our multi-tier support system, MTSS, and we have the counselors. And we also have clinicians that are in our building, because sometimes it's beyond what we can do at the building, and the clinicians come in to support that. And a lot of times, if it is something that goes beyond the school, we provide a plethora of resources that parents can take and seek counseling outside of school as well. So we have a lot of support within our district that comes to support our school. Okay, so we use that. Our root causes, and we talk about that literacy support is needed in all content areas to improve the academics. Teachers need training on instructional strategies to engage students in authentic learning. We know the reason why we put that there is you talked about that turnover in teachers who are not certified. They may be new teachers. So new teachers, they need that support. Need to increase the academically challenging classroom environment. If you're a new teacher, you're trying to learn your content as well as learn your students. Okay, as being a new teacher or uncertified teacher, but it could be veteran teachers that need to learn new things as well. Okay, lack of education attaining and employable skills among the adult population has led to high rates of poverty among the local community. That's one of the things. And if you're from Griffin, Dundee Mill used to be the mill. And when it closed down, it caused a lot of changes and shifts for a lot of people. So that's one. Poverty-related issues causes many feeling of hopelessness and apathy among many students. Okay?
So what do you do to address the poverty? Like, what is the school home? Do you do like giveaways or anything that we address and that we know there's a need out there?
So what we do is we work with our community partners to provide resources. We also have our school social worker who works in conjunction with our counselors. So when we know that there's a need, we provide those needs or provide them with organizations who can actually provide additional funding or needs or whatever. We also have a clothing closet here in our school. It's in a secure location so the kids don't feel, highlighted when they come in and they need to go into the clothing closet and get things out. Of course, all of our school lunches, breakfast, it's free for every student. It will be for the next 3 years. And so we're providing those resources. When the kids come, we have our celebrations at the beginning of the school year. So we have community partners who provide us with school supplies that we give to our students. So there are multiple things that we do to support there because we know, that they need things. Also, teachers use their own personal money. I know that I do. And we do a whole lot of things with that, whether it's providing them with, needs for projects or whatever. Whatever it is that they need, the school is doing its part to provide. And we also provided every student with a Chromebook, as well as we have identified students who may need a hotspot because they don't have computer and the internet access at home. We're providing those as well, free of charge.
Okay. Yeah. So that, that's how we support and we try to support as much as we can. Even, letting kids know, a lot of our kids, this is the first generation of graduating from high school. And then that support of supporting them to getting from that point to that college level or vocational, whatever way that they want to go. We have supports put in place with that, with Upward Bound that comes into the building that supports that and tries to get as many scholarships as they can to all of our students here in the building that participate in that program as well. Positive student-teacher relationships need to be consistently developed throughout the school year. And we use PBIS not only for students, but we also use that for teachers as well. And so just trying to figure out what activities can we bring teachers and students together so they can build those relationships. Teachers need innovative approaches to engage students in post-pandemic classrooms. Kids were at home, 2.5? Yeah, 2.5 or a year and a half at home. So when I remember the day that we left, and I remember the day that we came back, and the dynamics had shifted and it had changed tremendously of how we engage and interact with our kids. More of that technology, and the kids were just stuck to their laptops. And so trying to come back with a balance, not just being on your Chromebook and your laptop, but also having that engagement with the students in the classroom as well as the teacher. So that's something that we're constantly working on. We know this is the age of technology because the kids can do anything. All you have to do is ask them, they can do it. Okay, but you have to have a balance between the two. And so that's where that comes in, that post-pandemic classroom. Because think about it, they were sitting at home on the screen for those 8 hours a day. Okay, and they didn't have to engage with any other student. Okay, now you come back into a classroom, you're having to engage.
And it was very hard. Initially, when they came back, we were trying to change the dynamics of the classroom. And so we, as administrative team, just said, no use of technology unless the students are taking an assessment. And so now they're back to the traditional classroom, paper, pencil, and engagement with the teachers. It's not about being online. We don't have any in our building. We don't have any virtual learners. The district does have virtual learning. They have a program, but as far as students in our building are concerned, everybody is back to a traditional classroom. We do have our homebound students, and those students are served by certified teachers. But for the most part, everybody who's in the building, they are using the traditional methods of learning in the classroom through the engagement piece. Let me just continue on while Ms. Davis has stepped out. For number 2, teachers need effective strategies to increase academic rigor. And so we are putting into place and have put into place our RCD. RCD is our rigorous curriculum dialogues and diagrams and things like that, so that we're able to make sure that every classroom has the rigor that it needs. They are using multiple means of educating our students, whether it's the APA tasks, and those are tasks that they will learn a specific concept, and then they're asked to provide some type of artifact to show what they've learned. And that's a way for teachers to give them immediate feedback based upon those tasks that they're creating. They're also doing assignments in RCD, so there are assignments. This initiative came from the district, and so every school, if you go to the different schools, teachers may teach their own way, but they're also using the same RCD throughout the district. Teachers need strategies to increase the level of literacy and our numeracy in our students. Again, when we talked about that, this is a district initiative. When we talk about our literacy and our numeracy, we're making sure that we're bringing all our students' lexile levels up when we're looking at literacy. We can see their actual lexile scores once they take the American Lit EOC, and that's in the 11th grade. But we want to make sure that when they're coming in, that we're increasing their literacy, because initially 49% of our students who are coming in 9th grade will read below grade level. And so what we're trying to do is, through our instructional focus, as well as our classrooms, because we're using literacy across the curriculum, we're trying to make sure that we're increasing our literacy as well as our numeracy for our students. Again, as she said, mathematics has been a sticking point for us. And so we want to do our part to ensure that our students are getting the support and all of the instruction that they need to increase their capacity when it comes to both literacy and their numeracy. For number 4, the first one says lack of current parent contact information. As the parent liaison here, I know firsthand when I'm calling parents, there are many times that I will call every number that's listed at the campus and none of the numbers work. And so what we're asking parents to do is to utilize Infinite Campus. You can actually go in and update your information yourself. But if you call the school, we can update it. The only thing that we can't do on the school level is update addresses. So if someone moves and they will need to go to the district to centralize registration and provide documentation for that information. But as far as just their personal contact information, email addresses, phone numbers, we can update those things. And so we're asking parents to make sure that they're communicating with the school and keeping us abreast with their changes. The communication barriers between parents and school, we do our best to make sure that we're communicating with all parents. We're able to translate any document that we have in-house to any language. We have supported services through our district. We have interpreters. We have people here in our building who actually speak other languages, and they can assist us when we have families that come in and they need that additional support. Time constraints for families. We recognize that everybody's busy, but we want to make sure that we're doing our part to provide various time periods for parents to come in, whether it's for a parent-teacher conference, whether it's for these meetings, whether it's a stakeholder meeting, a parent workshop, or our annual Title I meeting at the very beginning of the school year. We make sure that we're providing different opportunities, different time periods to accommodate our families. As you can see, this meeting, we're having an in-person meeting as well as we're providing a virtual option as well. And I believe that we're going to continue that process. We want people to come back into the building, but we do realize that we do capture a lot of our families on our virtual options. As you can see, there was 13 plus people there with me. And so some of them are at work, some of them are having transportation needs, and so they can't come. But if they're given the option or various means of communicating with the school and partnering with us, then they will do that. It's not that families don't want to, it's sometimes that they can't. Right. And so we answer the question annually, unwilling or unable. We try to provide, when we're fully in person, we provide childcare and transportation to all meetings if needed. All we ask is that they provide us with a 2-week notice that they need it, and then we can work those things out for our district.
Excuse me. I don't know where my part.
Okay.
I wanted to try to as you go on, because I got another meeting.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
So
so
basically what we're asking you to do, if you have any feedback, if you could just put it on the form, and then that's it.
okay, yeah,
Okay.
mostly well, I feel like where you go out on the high school level, we've been a part of the community for a long time. I don't know from my position from Parks and Rec and what we're offering, looks like we're more engaged with elementary and middle school. Because
But also you're faith-based as
yeah,
well.
I do a lot with the football program, so that's the piece that come in with Coach Eason and the guys out there when they, from the church standpoint, what they need, word of encouragement, things of that nature, trying to, being an athlete, being with Fellowship of Christian Athletes, that's a piece that, I want to continue to be a part of, but I know financially from what we just received funding for, I would love to serve the high school, but, we're doing this community in school. I don't know, I just met with Dr. Simmons and Dr. Warren on Tuesday this week, trying to see how we implement that. And that's more serving elementary and middle school. I don't know how we can engage the
But I
high
believe
school
that
students.
you have some of our students, and I know that you're not doing anything directly for them, but they come over and they're using your facilities.
Right.
And so just to have that interaction and a place to go is more than
And so
enough.
that's a part I wanted to get to. I mean, they're coming in using our facilities, but the piece that I think they spoke on, and all the parents, what we see, and I know you all feel the same thing, is the involvement of the parents is a drop off. We're not engaging the parents, so we're finding out those core values that maybe I grew up in, it's missing in the home now. So that's the piece that we want to try to plug into. So this summer, again, it's with more middle school and elementary. The high school, we don't have that component yet. How do we really, reach them? It's like we shoot blanks out there trying to find out how do we, educate them and help them understand the importance of education. They come in and play basketball, whatever recreational piece is, but then they're out of the building. This summer, we just was awarded money for this summer. When I left my office, I saw this bill. So I'm excited about that because we're able to do extended learning in our summer programs and incorporate an academic piece in our day camp and our summer activity programs where we have 3 hours a day where we have certified teachers that can come in while I'm recruiting certified teachers to come in to give that educational piece. So I'm just stating that to say, I want to be able to support this, at the high school level, but just help me to, in the sense of what do you need from us to try to meet the needs of some of these kids that are coming into our facilities and they just playing, recreational stuff and they out of the door. And I feel like we're missing that. Being there for 14 years and we had some enrichment programs when I was actual facilities director. We were partnering with UGA and we had a lot of high school kids because of the program, and it was more creative learning. It wasn't so much of you coming in and getting your academics, but we tried to make learning fun. So we had more when I say high school, I say freshmen. When they get to be juniors and seniors, I don't know if we were reaching those kids, but just, coming out of middle school. So my thing is I was just looking at the parent engagement piece, how do we do that? Or how can I help support that?
If you would add it to your feedback form,
Okay,
then what we can do is we can have a meeting with you specifically or
Okay.
with your group.
Okay,
And then we can talk about a partnership that we can actually put in place so that we're able to bridge the gap between
right.
your community, your community organization and the school. Because
Right.
we could be sharing students who are coming over, and if you have that enrichment program, there's kids who are not able to participate in something that we're doing here, but it's closer for them to go there, because we do have a lot of bus-dependent students. So getting on the bus is important, but if they're living like right across the street, then they can still come over and get the information from you, and we could be in partnership. And if you're recruiting teachers, then that might mean some of our teachers coming over to you and providing, those services.
Well, we just put that out as Dr. Taylor downtown, so now I know we can move forward. I'm trying to hire some teachers because we need a coordinator. There's a lot of things I'm trying to piece together with this grant. But anyway, I'll put this down. I didn't want to just leave without.
Oh, yes,
just
okay,
seeing
we appreciate you
I just want to see where we can best serve, because we don't know. We're just trying to figure out things. But if we can come up with a plan, okay, this may help. And then it may be trial and error through the process. But I want to be a part of that from the recreation center, because we do see tons of kids in and out of our building, and we want to do more than just provide a service of, leisure service of recreation. So that's
So we applaud you and appreciate you because prior to the pandemic, we came up and did a girl and greet.
right.
And that was an opportunity to get those parents who were in the community to come into another situation outside of the school. Because oftentimes they're not able to come to us, but when we come to them, we capture them in their norm, in their environment.
Right.
So it makes them feel more comfortable. Oftentimes we've talked about some of our parents having negative school experiences. And that could not just be them coming to see us, but even when they were in school. So it kind of keeps them from coming to see us because their mindset is of those negative experiences that they had themselves. So when we come out into the community, it gives them, that sense of relief. It gives them that sense of comfort when we're coming into the community where they live. So we do appreciate you
I
for
need
that.
to ask her, I met her real quick. So your background is education?
I taught marketing, but I came from a professional.
Okay,
I have an MBA in marketing.
Well, I need to see you, I know cover off some basketball purposes, but you may be, I don't know, but it may be an opportunity
I'll come.
to do that. But I do have enough meeting, I'm gonna write this down. But, yeah, I didn't want to interrupt your class, I apologize if I didn't get in. But
We're about to take off as well.
But I have one question before we left. Do you guys have a PTO?
We did not have our PTO this year. We've had one in previous years, but we did not have one this year.
So how can we set one up going forward so we can get it together prior to
So-
going into next week?
If you would put that on your feedback
I
form,
need to keep my.
I'll
I'll
give you
you.
you can put that on there. We're also going to be recruiting for our school council, and that's for parents and students, so we would love to have you be a part of that for next year. And they start 2 years. Okay? Just getting into our school improvement plan at this time, and showing you, based upon all the information that we shared earlier, we want to talk about the goals that we're going to be working towards next year. And so just starting with the current information, for goal 1, from August 22 to May 23, GHS will increase the number of students who are reading on the Lexile, reading on the 1250 band. It's going to be from 22 to 25%. I know you see the blanks there, but it's going to be from 22 to 25%. Please bear in mind that I said that when students are coming in, that's in the 9th grade, 49% of those students will read below grade level. The work that we're doing is to try and make sure that we're increasing those Lexile scores to get them to reading on the 1250 Lexile band. And then we talk about our action steps, the things that we're going to do to make this happen, which is provide grade level text to students in all content areas. Again, we're going to be working across the curriculum. We're making sure that we're providing students with different types of genres of text, whether it's fiction, nonfiction, or informational. We're also going to be utilizing set teachers to provide daily interventions. If you remember, we talked about our IF classes, and so we're selecting specific teachers to go in, and they're doing those remediation and acceleration of our students. And so we want to make sure that we're doing that. And these are for our tier 2 and tier 3 students. And that's what Mr. Smith was talking about, MTSS, the multi-tier support system. Also, utilizing instructional resources. We're utilizing USA Test Prep, math, IXL, teacher-made resources. We do use Delta Math as well, but this is just a few of them. But we want to make sure that we're providing the additional support through our instructional resources for our students as well. And then for goal 2, from August 22 to May 23, GHS will build student numeracy skills to increase proficiency distinguished in math, which is Algebra 1, from 8% to 11%. And this is based upon the data, okay? And the reason why we selected Algebra 1 is because that's the area where we have an EOC, and so we can see that. We are able to see from our map data, it basically aligns. We can see, what they're doing at the current time through our map data, and then when they take their EOC, then we're able to compare that data and get good information. Again, our action steps to make this happen: use data to appropriately and strategically place students in math instructional segments, to provide additional support, again, talking about that IF. And then there are also some math support classes that the students may take prior to going into algebra, so they'll have those foundational skills. But most definitely utilizing IF to target those students who actually need the additional support. And IF is about 45 to 50 minutes a day, and so they're getting that Monday through Friday. Also, provide teachers and students explicit instructions and strategies related to numeracy, vocabulary, and also we know that we're not teaching vocabulary in isolation, but making sure that it is embedded in the instruction, but making sure that we're giving our teachers those strategies that they can use that we know are true, as well as making sure that the strategies that we're providing to the students, that they are able to use those strategies to demonstrate their knowledge and skills when it comes to the different mathematical situations that they may be trying to show mastery in. Again, utilizing those instructional resources that I talked about earlier, USA Test Prep, Math, IXL, we are using those math in classes. But I'll just tell you about USA Test Prep. USA Test Prep, you can go into it and you can look at those different instructional bands and select specific things to remediate students. And it can be tailored to each student based upon their common assessments in the classrooms, then we can tailor it for that particular student. Say, for instance, there's a student who's only needing additional support in one area versus another student who didn't get it at all. They'll need everything. We're able to tailor it. All right, for goal number 3, during the 2022-2023 school year, Griffin High School will increase the number of parents participating in school parent engagement events by 10%. Thus far, we've had 47 parents to participate this year, and so we're trying to move beyond that. And so we want to increase it to 52, but that does not include the parents who are participating in today's meeting. That number was prior to when we were preparing the data for this meeting. So we should have probably, I want to say maybe 60 to 70 parents, but we're going to just go from where we were initially and just making sure that we're increasing the number of parents who are participating, and that's based upon the sign-in sheets. We have to have some data there. Our action steps to make this happen is provide alternative ways for parents to receive information, participate in the meetings and activities, and communicate with school staff. Please bear in mind, this is why we're offering this virtual option as well, to ensure that parents, working families can still participate, although when we're having a meeting and they're not able to come here in person, we still give them the option to be able to participate. Okay? If you don't have to go, I understand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
When you go out, you're gonna go to the end of the hall and just go straight out, all the way down the hall, and you'll exit the Thank you. All right, and for those individuals who are still online with us, for number 2, our action step for our goal number 3 is to provide a parent information update reminder for parents to keep all contact information current. Please bear in mind that you can update your information via Infinite Campus yourself, or you can call the school and we can assist you with that. And so please make sure that you are updating your information and keeping it current so that when we're needing to reach you for any reason that we can do so. And number 3 says the school will provide resources to families to promote literacy, math skills, and attendance. And so if you come to our Parent Resource Center, we have multiple things that we can share with you, from brochures to books to handouts that's going to help you increase your students' literacy, enhance their math skills, and improve their school attendance. For number 4, it says from August 2022 to May 2023, Teachers will provide professional development that will support increased academic rigor, foster a sense of culture in the school, and understanding the needs of our students. The effectiveness of the professional development will be measured by fidelity of implementation as noted on the school walkthroughs. And so when our administrators are going and they're doing their walkthroughs, when they're doing their walkthroughs, then they're able to assess the effectiveness of the professional development. If you give me 1 second, I'm going to let Ms. Davis take over, and she's going to go through those action steps for goal number 4.
Okay. Goal number 4, from August 2022 to 2023, teachers will be provided professional development that will support increasing academic rigor, foster a sense of culture in the school, and understanding the needs of our students. The effectiveness of the professional development will be measured by fidelity of implementation as noted on school walkthroughs.
Okay. Did you go through the action steps already?
Okay, the action steps: have a designated professional learning day each month during each instructional block of the day. Sign-in sheets for all sessions will be collected to ensure all faculty have experienced the professional learning. Administrators, instructional coaches, and the teacher development specialists will perform walkthrough observations to ensure strategies, concepts, and the pedagogy delivered in professional development are being implemented with fidelity in the classroom. Goal number 5, GHS will ensure a positive school climate built upon clear, equitable policies and practices where all members of the school community feel emotionally and physically safe, including and accepted, as measured by an increase in daily attendance, decrease in discipline referrals connected to the Big 7 report, and an increase in the overall climate rating of the school. Action steps: use of the WORKS program to establish and practice a system of restorative justice and reduce future adverse behaviors. Use the PBIS reward system to reward students who are in a class on time and who are present in school on a regular basis. Conduct PBIS reward activities to continue to incentivize punctuality and attendance. Establish a duty roster that imparts a strong adult presence in areas where behaviors frequently occur. Those are our 5 goals. Dr. Elam?
All right, do we have anyone who have any questions about the information that has been shared? If you would like to ask questions of myself or Ms. Davis, you can turn your microphone on at this time. I've shared the feedback form with you, and I'm going to put it in the chat again. And so you're able to provide any additional feedback. If you think there are any changes that we need to make, please make sure that you're putting that information there as well. Again, is there anyone who has any questions or any feedback for us? I know Ms. Boswell, you raised your hand earlier. Do you have a question just yet or any comments? We would love to hear from you.
Not at this time, thank you.
Okay, 1 second. I'm going to change the security on this feedback form. Thank you so much, Mr. Whitmore, for telling me. Give me 1 second.
Dot, is there anything else I got to do? All right, thank you. All right, well, Dr. Seeley, make sure you call.
Okay, thank you. All right, at this time, you should be able to provide your feedback. Thank you again, Mr. Whitmore. Please let me know if you're able to provide your feedback. We would love to hear from you. I know this was a long meeting, but we wanted to make sure that we are giving you all the information as we're preparing our CSIP, our Continuous School Improvement Plan. Please note that there may be adjustments. Again, once we receive feedback, we will have to make adjustments to some of the areas based upon your feedback. And this is one of the main reasons why we're asking you to share with us. So if you would, are you saying provide the feedback form again, Mr. Whitmore? Okay, let me put it in there one more time. All right, you should be able to provide feedback. Please let me know if you're still not able to do so. I've changed the parameters for it. Does it still have the security on it, Mr. Whitmore? Okay, let me go back to the feedback form again.
Yes, ma'am, it does. Sorry, I was poking the wrong microphone button, apparently.
Okay. Let's see if this works. Click on that link and see if you can provide feedback now.
Yes, ma'am, that one's going to work.
All right, thank you so much, so much. While you're here, if you would, please provide some feedback. You can also turn your microphone on and talk to me if you would like to ask questions. Again, we utilize our data to determine how to complete our summary document. And we make sure that we've asked our stakeholders. Our stakeholders includes our school staff, students, our custodians, our front office staff, teachers. We're asking parents. We're asking our community partners, including our faith-based organizations. We have community partners. This afternoon, Upward Bound, who is one of our partners who's actually in our building, they will be joining us. We also have some additional business partners who are going to be joining us. On our call, we have another organization, Workforce Georgia. Thank you, Ms. Caldwell, who's here with us. And then you as parents. We do have some district personnel who are here. Thank you, Dr. Bearden. Ms. Owens, who is here, our district family and community engagement specialist. I would like to recognize her as well. And then we did have our group of admin who actually presented the information along with myself. And so, we're doing our part to make sure that we're getting the information out there. We want to make sure that we're doing our part to provide opportunities for you to share and partner with us at various times. We know that you're working. And so even though we may have a meeting in the morning and you're not able to attend, then we do our best to record the meeting so that at your convenience, you can go back and you can look at the information shared. And then also, please be reminded, you can share your feedback at any time. Please make sure that you're utilizing our school website as well as our social media platforms, which does include our YouTube channel, to provide feedback to us about things that you think that we need to change, things that are working, and just continue to partner with us so that we can be the best school to provide the best educational experience for our students. If there are no questions from you at this time, I would like to say again, thank you so much for joining us for today's stakeholders meeting. We will have an afternoon session at 5:30. So if you feel compelled and you want to come back, please feel free to do so. We will be here in the building in the media center, as well as we will have a virtual option again for our stakeholders to join us there as well. So at this time, if there are no questions, thank you so much, and everyone have a productive and safe day. And thank you so much again for joining us.